Some people, like plants, are spiky not because they're mean, but because they are sensitive.
If people realized how important this level of nurturing is, everybody would do it. Aloha, and welcome to Plant Wisdom. Let's take 10 breaths. Yeah, I just love that 15 to 20 seconds after the last breath to let it kind of the energy almost like finish the crest and then to just kind of taper out and just feel myself kind of expand into the area. Um, and depending if I push it slightly, I can get that nice tingling. Of course, that's not the point, but it is nice. It's also nice that I'm doing this right next to a lime tree. So these are they're not a particularly juicy lime, but people use it as a beverage garnish or as a culinary garnish. So really nice smell to it. Um, so first, I want to talk about breath work, and then we'll get into some planting wisdom. So I had a guy do a private session, and of course, I would never talk about anyone details individually and so on. But in a general sense, it kind of reminded me that he had some feedback after the session was over, and he said something along the lines of, um, "The experience that I had was um, not necessarily novel, but that it was more intense than I've ever had that way of experiencing these what I would call personally I would call the shamanic realm." Um, and I think that that's it's an interesting point of feedback because um, while you can never really anticipate exactly what you're going to get out of breath work, if it's very cathartic, purgative, or if it's visionary, or if it's just this deep sense of peace and finding your corner in the abyss of space and time and all that, there's no way to know. But what I thought that was really cool about his particular feedback in that sense was going to that space is not for anybody, and it shouldn't be considered a separate space from this reality. And when I say this reality, I mean consensual reality, the one that everyone just kind of agrees with in general. Um, I don't I don't think that it's actually really all that healthy to consider them as two separate spaces. I think that we all are served best by understanding that that we have the physical reality, and then there is just, as far as I know, an unlimited amount of information in higher and more complex layers all around us. So if you were to think about it going in the dimensions of our own perception, like if you could only see, well, if I could only see, if I only had eyes, then I wouldn't be able to detect all the scents that are around me, right? But then I turn on, I become aware or I engage the faculty of smell, and then now it's not that I just went into another space. I'm just now aware of more information in this space that is currently existing. And so that's how I like to think about and explain um, when your body really turns on and you energize, and the blockages that are kind of anchoring or pinning or binding, those things move, and the mind is able to open up. It's not that you really actually go anywhere. It's that you're able to absorb more of the reality that is that you're bathed in all the time. So I just thought I'd share that. Um, and as the breath work continues, and questions come in, and we do sessions in person and all that, I like to share these insights with everybody. So, but the main thing I wanted to talk about today in planting wisdom is that some of the plants, are more susceptible than others to various kinds of diseases and pests, as we'll call them. I hesitate to even say that they're diseases and pests because they have a negative connotation. It kind of makes it, people can get angry about it, and I've been there. Sometimes it can be frustrating, but but you know to take it personally is kind of silly, right? They're just trying to live and propagate and do their thing, and it just doesn't work for me, so I have to take care of it. Now, in that taking care of process, sometimes you can just go in, like with the white sapote, which is my wife's favorite fruit. That's why we have it, but it's susceptible to this pest that you can see these little black dots. It's discolored on the top of the leaf, and the little black dots are the pest on the underside. And you can see that it's pretty full, the tree now. I mean, it'll get much bigger, but the foliage is pretty full, but you can see that there's some pest has reoccurred. This tree I stripped down to almost nothing, like a stick, and it has grown back because it has otherwise got plenty of water and nutrients. I'm also doing that now with the purple star apple. It's got another pest. It's got these ants, and the ants, they basically farm these little. In this particular case, they farm scale. That's what these little things stuck to the leaves are, is scale. And they farm them, and the scale sucks out a juice from the leaf and produces a product, and the ants eat that product. It's very interesting. I mean, it's fascinating. It's just a nuisance. And it retards the growth of the tree, which of course is not what I want, on top of making the tree kind of look, shabby. So with that tree, you can see that there's a lot of new growth coming out, which is great. Again, you take care of the tree, and you have to, when you're going to do this kind of stripping, you have to make sure that you take care of everything else that you possibly can. And so that's something that it's like when we do breath work, or people go into plant medicine, or they do meditation retreats. You can't just go in there and do some kind of heavy excavation work in your subconscious and your soul, and then just pop back into work on Monday as if nothing happened. If you're going to go in and do this heavy work, then you have to give yourself time. You have to give yourself nutrient. You have to give yourself the space and the resources to let that work actually take take root in your system. So that's the thing that I think, because if you and in my my white guava, if I stripped all the foliage off to get rid of all the disease, and then I didn't do anything to support the tree, maybe it will survive, but it will definitely survive and bounce back even stronger if I do all these other supportive activities. And And we need to treat ourselves that same way. If you're going to do this heavy excavation work into your consciousness, and I think that that's a great thing to do, there's just a way to do it that gives yourself the best possible outcome, the chance for best possible outcome. Um, and time and time again, that's what we see. It's just, um, I'm looking at my guava from over here and get a close up, but the the plants, of course, they have their own will, and as we do, and so you just need to give them enough to support what they're going through, and I'd even say, now that I think about it, like, let's say you're in a relationship, and for example, my life right now, I'm supporting my wife. We're about to have our second child, and the thing about that, it's like she's going through a lot. This is a very intense time, and it would be irresponsible of me not to acknowledge what's happening and to put that extra uh, work, resources, love, attention, watering the plants, like all of that, because just being aware of what's happening, you realize, okay, this needs extra, um, and and honestly, I mean, I love to do it. So, for me, it's kind of obvious. But I think that, I guess, I would expect that if people realized how important this level of nurturing is, everybody would do it. It's just not part of our culture. So, so that's why I'm bringing it up.
Let's start a revolution in our culture. Let's start to be more nurturing and more loving towards ourselves and everyone else. Just imagine what that would be like, if we gave ourselves and everyone that we love the time and the space to grow and to really let all that growth and nurturing and deep personal work really take root and flower. It's a beautiful place. It's as beautiful place as I can imagine. Thanks for joining me in planting wisdom. Aloha.